boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Chantelle Cameron is not expecting Katie Taylor trilogy. Chantelle Cameron has applied fresh pressure on Katie Taylor to finalize their long-awaited trilogy clash or step aside and vacate her belts. The Northampton fighter, who shared 2 epic battles with Taylor in 2023, says patience is wearing thin after Taylor controversially defeated Amanda Serrano for the 3rd time earlier this year.
Controversially? What is he talking about? That was the least controversial fight of their trilogy. She beat her wide.
In a statement directed at Taylor and her promotional team, Cameron confirmed a new 14-day deadline before the World Boxing Council strips Taylor of the 140-pound crown. Today was the deadline for Katie and her team to come to some kind of an agreement with my team, MVP Nikisa Badarian, Jake Paul, and Anto Fitzgerald to either fight me or vacate the world title belt, Cameron explained. I think that was really reasonable considering I've spent the last 2 years getting back in, positioned to fight for it since losing it in our rematch back in 2023. This is the 2nd extension that has been granted. Hopefully the next 14 days will be the final extension and the belt will be vacated. I don't think Katie and her team want the fight, which is fair enough, but the 140-pound division should crack on. Cameron defeated Taylor in their first meeting in Dublin, handing the Irish icon the first loss of her career. Taylor responded with a razor-thin decision win in the rematch before moving on to extend her rivalry with Serrano. Taylor's record of coming out on top in these close decisions is unprecedented, as World Boxing News has reported on many occasions in the past. I get the sense that the people at World Boxing News have an axe to grind with Katie. They make reference to some razor-thin decisions that she's won without adding context that a lot of the time Katie was the away fighter in those fights. What are you talking about? A fight in New York City where Amanda Serrano's from? Their initial meeting.
Or a fight that, not Matchroom, a fight that MVP promoted.
Their second meeting, and I don't know why Phil J., who wrote this article, would refer to their third meeting as being controversial. There was nothing controversial about that decision, but the article continues, now with Taylor holding multiple titles at 140, Cameron believes the time has come for clarity over whether or not Taylor is willing to settle their unfinished business. If Taylor declines to compete in the trilogy, Cameron will contest for the vacant championship before the end of this year, having maneuvered herself into a mandatory position.
Either way, the super lightweight division appears poised for significant movement, with interim champion Cameron insisting she will not allow further stalling.
Chantelle does not believe that the trilogy will happen, so we will have this conversation on that premise, that they don't fight for a 3rd time. Katie vacates the title and it goes to Chantelle. What then? If you comb through the World Boxing Council's ranked standings, there are some decent fighters there, but very few, if any of them, have any marquee value. Now that Chantelle Cameron is promoted by MVP,
that will not suffice.
The perception of MVP now is they are the flagship promoter for women boxers all around the world, that the torch has effectively been passed from Matchroom, who got the ball rolling, to MVP. So when you're the flagship promoter for women boxers and you host the strongest stable of women boxers anywhere in the world,
the pressure they used to put on Matchroom is on you now, and Katie Taylor walking away from a trilogy is no excuse for Chantelle to not fight in a big fight.
Over there on the MVP side of things, you've got Terry Harper at 135 and you have Alicia Baumgartner at 130. You could make a fight between Chantelle and any one of those 2 fighters.
No reason not to.
It was dying Ben Parker that told young Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. And MVP has the power to make any number of fights for Chantelle Cameron, high-profile ones, more high-profile than anything you'd find in the WBC's rank standings.
So if Katie does decide to forego the trilogy, that's no excuse for Chantelle to not be in a big fight.
They better get to it. They better get cracking. In the event that Katie doesn't do this, somebody else better.
Men's super bantamweight news. Mutajan Akhmadaliev says I have the whole package to hurt and beat Naoya Inoue. Mutajan Akhmadaliev shot at undisputed junior featherweight champion Naoya Inoue finally arrives September 14th when they meet at the IG Arena in Nagoya, Japan, the day after the big Crawford versus Canelo showdown. That's going to be a big weekend. Akhmadaliev, 14-1, with 11 knockouts, was moving into position to fight Inoue 2.5 years ago, but he lost in a title unification fight against Marlon Tapales via split decision. Instead, the former 122-pound champion had to string together 3 consecutive wins
to force his standing as the mandatory challenger to Inoue 30-0 with 27 KOs. I am finally getting the opportunity to fight Inoue, Akhmadaliev told The Ring. I've worked very hard to be in this position, and I will show the best version of myself on the night. I feel like I will be in the best shape of my career heading into this fight. Akhmadaliev is confident he can crush The Ring's number 2 ranked pound-for-pound fighter. Because Inoue has been dropped 2 times in the last 4 fights in the early rounds against Luis Neri in May of last year and Ramon Cardenas 4 months ago, I can hurt anyone with my punches, and I believe in my power, and I can deliver it too. He's not an exception, Akhmadaliev said. My job is to beat him, and I will do everything in my power to do that. I have the whole package to compete at the highest levels in any department.
Obviously, I'm going to be going live for Canelo versus Crawford. I think that goes without saying. But I'm going to be going live that following morning for this fight. I don't normally go live for the Japanese shows, the Kenshiro Taraji fights, the Junto Nakatanyi fights, but I will be going live for this one. Bitch!
It's cause they come on so early in the day. I'm still wiping the cold out of my eye by the time the co-main event comes on. But I will make it a point to be live for Inoue versus Akhmadaliev. Akhmadaliev, who said, I will prove to the world that I belong and I'm the best. He's the full package and he has all of the belts, but so do I. The Ring will show everything.
After what has been a very slow month of boxing in August, things pick up, and they pick up fast in the next week or so.
The Ring will show everything. It never lies, Akhmadaliev said, a 2016 Olympic bronze medalist of Uzbekistan who has been a career-long junior featherweight. In contrast, Inoue started making his mark at 108 pounds and has been at 122 for just 6 fights over 2 years.
4 of those 6 fights were defenses of the undisputed crown. Not everybody defends undisputed once they achieve it. Inoue is one of the few fighters that has.
He was untouchable at the lower weights, and I think his struggles against Neri and Cardenas are due to the weight of 122, Akhmadaliev said. He's fighting tougher and bigger guys. That gives him issues. He's dealing with more adversity at 122, and this is my weight class. If either one of us gets caught with a clean punch, the knockout will be there. If we exchange and fight in an all-in fight, then the knockout is definitely going to happen. DraftKings has Inoue listed as a whopping minus 800 betting favorite and Akhmadaliev as a plus 500 underdog, despite Inoue saying that he believes the southpaw is the toughest test of his career.
You gotta love how Inoue respects his opponents and he doesn't look past them.
I believe that in and of itself lends itself to his preparation, that he doesn't treat these fights like it's a foregone conclusion he wins based on where Ring Magazine ranks him or ESPN or what the fans think. He acknowledges the man in front of him and prepares accordingly. Akhmadaliev is used to fighting on the world stage and has scored a knockout in each of his last 4 wins. Inoue has notched 11 stoppages in a row. Akhmadaliev might need a knockout to avoid being on the wrong end of the scorecards, much like he was against Tapales. Inoue became undisputed champion by knocking out Tapales in December of 2023, after the Filipino had beaten Akhmadaliev.
Interesting particulars in association with the fight is that Inoue has been sparring Tapales, who he knocked out and who beat MJ Akhmadaliev. That's been his sparring partner in preparation for this fight.
This fight likely because Marlon is a southpaw and so is MJ. They wanted this fight in Japan and not anywhere else, Akhmadaliev said. The Ring is the same around the world, as long as there are no politics complicating things during the fight. Inoue has proven why he's one of the best. His accomplishments are well-deserved, and I have nothing but respect. But this is boxing, and one punch can change the trajectory of a fight at any time. That's why we love this sport. You won't hear any loud promises from me, but I know what needs to be done on fight night. I believe I can do everything to beat him. By now, we've watched Inoue amass considerable experience against southpaws like Murodjon Akhmadaliev. You're talking about the Maloney fight, the Dasmariñas fight,
That's two.
the Tapales fight, the TJ Doheny fight, the Luis Neri fight.
That's five.
MJ Akhmadaliev makes 6. There is a legitimate argument that MJ is a more well-schooled boxer, or at least a more well-schooled amateur than any of those fighters, and perhaps that's why MJ became a unified champion so early in his career with his win over Danny Roman, then champion.
Now, that big fight with Danny was more than 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, in January of 2020.
Would go on to make 3 successful defenses of the unified crown before losing the titles to Marlon Tapales in April of 2023.
2 years ago.
And 2 years later, 2 weeks out from the fight. I have no doubts that MJ Akhmadaliev is hungry. He's gonna give it his all. He's gonna give it what he's got.
And at the level that Inoue has been competing, it feels like it's only a matter of time before disaster strikes. Inoue is one of these fighters that's too brave for his own good. Is MJ the one to beat him?
The bookies don't think so. The sports books, they have Inoue as the favorite, rightfully so. But there is always more to boxing than what you see on paper. Now, I myself have Inoue winning the Akhmadaliev fight.
But I'm not infallible. I'm not always right. And that's what the intrigue is.
Will MJ interrupt Inoue's plans and beat him before he makes it to that big Junto Nakatani fight? Or will it be Junto that unseats the monster and slays him? I would love to see Inoue bow out from the sport of boxing at some point, not now, undefeated, with his unbeaten record intact, but that's just not the way that things happen for ambitious fighters, ambitious boxers like Inoue.
Over to an underachiever, what has been one of the most overrated boxers I've seen in the last 56 years.
The people at World Boxing News have made the decision to drop Gervonta Davis from their pound-for-pound rank standings. Gervonta Davis has been officially removed from the World Boxing News pound-for-pound top 50 after agreeing to face YouTuber-turned-fighter Jake Paul in a Netflix exhibition. Tank had been holding firm at number 10 in the WBN rankings, but with this next outing confirmed as a non-professional bout on November 14th, his position is no longer tenable.
Well, I don't think it ever was.
The Baltimore Star has not fought since his March 1st draw with Lamont Roach, and WBN considered dropping Davis down the ratings in the coming weeks unless Davis agreed to the rematch. But with no sanctioned fight scheduled within 12 months of a draw, WBN agreed unanimously on his removal. Jake Paul, who is 12-1 as a professional and coming off his decision win over Mike Tyson, Chavez actually,
right,
will share the ring with Davis in what organizers are billing as a historic Netflix crossover. However, the bout has zero relevance to the professional scene, and the fact that Davis accepted the offer over defending his lightweight or super lightweight standing has prompted swift action.
More like a reaction, retaliation for people that are fed up with Gervonta Davis's angling, and now it's all come to a head. The World Boxing News pound-for-pound list is as such.
Alexander Usyk is ranked at number 1. Naoya Inoue is ranked at number 2. Terence Crawford is ranked at number 3. Dimitri Bivol is ranked at number 4. Jesse Rodriguez is ranked at number 5. Junto Nakatani is ranked at number 6. Artur Beterbiev is ranked at number 7. Canelo Alvarez is ranked at number 8. Shakur Stevenson Rodriguezson is ranked at number 9. And Heaven Daney, ahead of his fight with Brian Gortatz, is ranked at number 10.
But didn't they say they keep a pound-for-pound top 50?
That's what the article said, but that just tells you how angry they are. That they've got 50 slots where they rate fighters that they believe are pound-for-pound worthy, and they didn't want to give even one of those spots to Gervonta Davis. Devin Haney replaces Davis in the top 10, regaining a spot among the elite after moving to welterweight and lining up a huge WBO defense against Brian Gortatz. Davis versus Paul fallout, many fans have criticized the Davis versus Paul matchup as a money grab, accusing Davis, the lightweight, of following Floyd Mayweather's path into exhibitions far too early in his career, except that when Floyd did it, Floyd was actually done with professional boxing, having already had several super fights with the likes of Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez, Shane Mosley, Manny Pacquiao, so on and so forth. He was in his mid-30s.
Mid to late, actually.
He was closer to 40 when he started doing those kinds of circus fights, whereas Gervonta, he just hit 30.
He doesn't have the track record at the box office that Floyd Mayweather had. It's nowhere near. And in terms of resume and what kind of fighters he fought, Floyd Mayweather, by and large, fought many of his contemporaries. Not all of them,
but most. There are a few names missing, whereas Gervonta's ledger,
it's almost like he made it a point to not fight his contemporaries, to not fight Loma when Loma was in his prime, or Teofimo Lopez, who beat Loma, or George Kambosos, who beat Teofimo, Devin, who beat George.
Forget about Shakur. How many times in how many videos did I tell you he won't come within 50 feet of Shakur? Now, others defended him, citing the generational payday that Netflix will provide him for this circus fight.
But I said it before, it's not taking the payday, the circus fight, that really has people angry. It's that he didn't fight all those aforementioned fighters. That's why they're mad. And knowing that after this, he likely will never fight them.
Because if he had, they would look at this and say, well, he's fought his contemporaries and he's come out on top, so he deserves it. But they can't say that under these circumstances. For those who ranked Davis among the elite of world boxing, the move is a body blow, fighting Jake Paul. The WBN pound-for-pound ratings are recognized as among the most consistent in the sport, taking into account wins, activity, belts held, and the manner of each victory. By stepping away from the real fight game, even temporarily, Davis sacrifices not just a top 10 place, but also the chance to keep building his legacy.
He doesn't have one.
Let's make a long story short. All the value in pound-for-pound rank standings are perspective, perception, and how people perceive a fighter. It is an honor,
albeit a highly subjective one that varies from person to person, what names you find on a pound-for-pound list and why. But for the most part, it is intended to be a compliment, this imaginary list.
And for having avoided all of the relevant fighters, the really good ones, in his own time, at his own weights, Gervonta Davis doesn't deserve one. If he's making out like a bandit, good for him.
Pieces of shit like him have to.
Because he's not cut from the same cloth as an Usyk, an Inoue, a Canelo or a Crawford, and so many other fighters on the list, so many others that came before them. Gervonta Davis's name doesn't belong in the same sentence.
If you're happy that he's getting to make all this money, well, good for you and good for him.
But a pound-for-pound rank standing is not about how much money you made or whether or not you made off like a bandit, like Gervonta Davis is about to. There's no real precedent to rate him as such, so WBN isn't going to.